You brought on investors that you'd had in the past, Insight, for example. Were they willing to be writing checks for companies such as yours in this environment?
Short answer, yes. They're absolutely willing to. I recognize tricky environment right now, not one where I'd recommend folks go, running out there to try to raise a round. But the fact of the matter is we're a growing company in a huge space. Last year really was the year where it was clear observability was hitting the mainstream and we were the leaders in this space. And so for us, the round, honestly, it was an opportunistic round and came together quite quickly, and really just makes me grateful for the continued support from our existing investors.
Scale Ventures, another one, Headline as well. So I love that you sort of tell us that this was opportunistic. Opportunistic to build what you say is the best observability tooling for your software engineering team. So what exactly do you do? How are you helping the customers that we're currently shining light on, Slack and HelloFresh?
Yeah, in the simplest terms, we help engineering teams understand why their software is not behaving the way that they expect. You flashed some great logos up there, thank you. Vanguard, for example, used us to help figure out why one of their pages on their personal investors website was not loading. Slack uses us to figure out why some of their fixes don't get released as quickly as they expect. In software, there's always a slight difference between the way that you think that code will behave when you have it in your head versus what it's like in front of real users. And we help all of these engineering teams shorten that distance and make sure that what they think they're putting out there is what their users are experiencing.
Hey, Christine, in our audience on Bloomberg Technology, there are so many founders out there with companies much smaller than yours, and they'll see that you were able to raise this money. You've just explained the problem that you're working on in the addressable market. How do you use the funds? Tell us about the size of your business, how you're going to manage your longevity and runway.
We are about size of the business, solid growth stage. In terms of headcount, we have maybe 160, 170 folks. Looking forward, we're really excited to use some of this capital to expand in geos, invest in our ecosystem, and really just be able to continue committing to staying on the bleeding edge of what's possible in the space by investing in new, exciting tech frontiers. Really, I think we as a company tend to be fairly pragmatic in our spend. That is really what helped us weather the last couple of years, not just chasing high valuations and running the risk of a down round. This was an up round, which we're all very happy about.
Right.
And I think our focus has always been build a great product, build a strong business, build a company our people are proud to have been a part of. And it is a little too glib to say that the rest will follow. But if you keep your focus on those things, the market is just another tool to continue achieving those goals.
Christine, you formerly were a senior software engineer at Facebook, now known as Meta, of course. And when I was at Startup Grind earlier this week, we were discussing layoffs and the opportunity that layoffs can offer. Are you going out there to kind of hire some talent from your former employer that may now be on the market, given that money you raised?
Yes, some. But as with everyone, we are doing it pragmatically, thoughtfully, with an eye to managing cost and efficiency. But we are hiring. We're continuing to do really exciting work on the bleeding edge of observability and technology, and we make a real impact in the lives of our customers and their software engineering practices. So, every door when a door closes, another door opens, and we're really excited to continue building the best team that we can to build the best product and service that we can.
Caroline, it's so interesting to get the real-term perspectives of a founder CEO. The other thing that I was discussing at Startup Grind is the idea that not everyone is in San Francisco or the Bay Area. People were there from all around the world.
Yeah, and look, Christine, you're San Reno right now. How are you building a team? Are you building it in person? Are you building it in Reno? You're building it globally? How do you see the new world in which we live in and ultimately where you can get the best engineering talent?
We are largely concentrated in the US and Canada. We've got some folks in the UK, when we actually had aspirations to be a distributed company even before COVID, and the shifting to remote work was just hitting an accelerator on plans that we already had in place. I actually looked recently, and I was surprised to find that 2/3 of our company are located outside of traditional tech hubs, and it means that when we are able to come together, it's folks from Utah and Tennessee and Ohio, and it's wonderful to be able to tap into a talent pool it doesn't have to be concentrated in a particular geo. Time zones are a little harder. We're working around that, but I think remote work is certainly what we're committing to.
Christine, you founded this business because your time at Facebook, you recognized the IT landscape was changing. I want to end on asking you what's changing in technology right now that's a driver for your company. Is it AI, for example, and all of the data conversation about the inputs?
I think in terms of driving the company, the way that we build software has changed dramatically in the last 5 or 10 years, with trends like Kubernetes, microservices, serverless technologies. You have this explosion of complexity in any sort of architecture diagram on how logic flows through a system. With that increase in complexity comes with a different set of expectations for any tools like ours that are meant to make sense of that for a software engineering team. So that trend, those trends continuing to grow, crest, and make software engineering teams' lives difficult. AI is definitely an interesting area we've got our eye on. I think that there are, as with any technology, it could be there are cases where it can be misapplied, and there are cases where it can be perfectly applied. And in our world, if our AI attempts make a wrong choice, it either risks not waking an engineer up when the software is burning down in the middle of the night, or it risks waking engineers up in the middle of the night when they don't need to be and burning them out. So we are trying to be very thoughtful about where we ask software to make decisions, and instead are more interested in how can we help humans be better versions of themselves.
Yes.
Mantra of one of our folks that I'm borrowing is, we want to build mecha suits, not robots.